because of your graphical knowledge?
That's something else that informs my life. Yeah, I love typefaces. I love colour.
Yeah.
I love shape.
Me too.
And it takes a special person, I think, to be a graphic designer, because you have to be quite flexible with different people.
Colouring in for a living is very difficult to do.
Yeah, I'd love to have done it myself personally.
Oh, you're into retrographics?
Oh yeah, I love 1920s graphics. Yeah, the typeface.
Art Deco.
Well, I love Art Deco as an art form.
Yes.
You know, you can get a salt cellar or a door or a ocean liner or a car. I can't think of any other decorative art form that's informed so many areas of life and still looks contemporary today. It's just beautiful.
Anyway, I'm going to be reading. I founded and owned Retrograph Archive, which unfortunately no longer exists, and it was 1986 to 2006, so it was 20 years in London, in Notting Hill. Where to begin? I had become in the late 70s a founder member of the Ephemera Society of Great Britain and was especially passionate about labels, little vintage paperworks of chromolithographic art printed in Paris from 1886 to 1960 for perfume, soap, alcohol, wine, champagne, fez, cotton bolts and embossed gilded cigar labels for the inside of the lid of the cigar boxes. Later, I was to collect hotel, shipping and airline labels until I had amassed a huge, magnificent collection. Initially, I was an antique collectibles dealer of 3D objects, not only china and tin, but also paper, which included juvenilia, prints and books. Labels were my passion, especially the visual side of it. I was a games, puzzle, conjuring and pre-cinema specialist, overlapping into the exciting world under the umbrella of the performing allied arts. I was a regular exhibitor at the Ephemera Society fairs in London, where I met a diverse assortment of collectors, mainly in the older age bracket, and all very knowledgeable. Some well known in their field, others not. Rich or poor, it mattered not. All were passionate about their collections. One day in 1984, I received a call from Jenny, can't remember her surname, asking me if I had visuals of pigs for a book on pigs. I had 3. A 1920s show card hanging framed at home of the Alhambra hams with a French chef riding a pig. Another, a French 1880 trade card with a flying pig, and an English 1930s metal sign from a butcher's with a whimsical porky face hanging in my kitchen. Could she come over with a photographer? Yes, I said, of course. In my innocence, Jenny arrived with a man and his tripod and offered me £50 a picture. Wow, that's easy money, and I get to keep the images. I had forgotten that Martin Breese, my husband, had been a Sunday Times professional photographer with his own studio in Notting Hill in the 60s. I had no idea of licensing reproduction rights, whether in the UK, Europe or the world. What did I know apart from buying and selling between London and Paris? Material property, but not knowledge of intellectual property, which had not yet emerged in my exciting active life. Some months passed. Jenny called to ask if I would like to go in a hardback £40 edition of Picture UK Sources, a book that she was compiling. The entry would be free and published about 6 to 9 months later. I must have heard the magical word free, and so agreed. She sent the forms. I recall it was a lazy Sunday morning after a tiring Saturday wheeling and dealing at my busy Portobello Road stand. I was in bed having coffee with my hard-working multimedia publisher husband. The forms asked the name of my archive. What archive? I had a stock galore, but no archive, and I certainly was not open to the public. Well, everything was vintage or retro, thus the title Retrograph came to mind. Graphics from the past. Looking back decades later, it should have been retrographics, but that morning I had no idea of the consequences, and that through happenstance I had created a nostalgia picture library that would endure 20 years and provide us with an income. Next question was, how many transparencies in the archive? Easy answer, none. Well, I had a vast stock, but well, why not put down 10,000? I didn't care. I had amassed thousands of original labels and ephemera, mainly sourced in Paris, where I had been living before I finally married in 1983. In the following decade, I would continue to go back and forth, especially to buy at the Foire de Vieux Papier at the Porte de Champéry. Hours, well, 10 to 6, imagining in the UK businesses closed on the dot of 5. Description of archive. Easy. I just listed all my subjects, and there were a lot. Well, perhaps 50, ranging from my favourite, the art of the label, cars, planes, ships, rail, animals, cats, hotels, food, commodities, music, cinema, the Boer War, even Judaica. Those were the themes. Then there was the style of design, like Art Nouveau, Art Deco, or typography and layout. My favourite reference book being Mise en Page and inspirational Art Deco Pochoir, published in 1924 by Benedictus. By the time I'd finished typing, it looked impressive, but to me it wasn't serious. It was just a free entry in a directory I would never see, so I thought. Off the forms went back to Jenny, and the entry was promptly forgotten. Months later, I was watching TV one evening when the phone rang. "Is that Retrograph Archive?" I can't do an American accent. A faraway drawl demanded to know. "You've got the wrong number," I said, and put the phone down, returning to watch my favourite soap, Dynasty, with fabulous, alluring, fancy-schmancy padded shoulder gowns. Not giving up, my first customer, Sally Fox, phoned again, saying she'd found Retrograph in UK picture sources, and what did I have with women working? Easy, as I had an eidetic memory for visuals. I knew I had a stock French chromo trade card of a woman making Belgium lace, another woman sitting in front of a Singer sewing machine, and a Balinese woman dancing. But these were for sale at £5 each, having bought them in Paris for 50p. I was not thinking in publishing mode. I had forgotten Jenny had offered me £50 an image. Sally was coming to London working on her annual woman's calendar to be published in America. When she arrived in time for the London Book Fair, she would come over and agreed to buy at the inflated price of £10 each. She left pleased with her bargain. For me, it was just another easy sale. I had not yet woken up to the real world. I was still in my Mickey Mouse world. The next day, I got a phone call from a German newspaper based in London. What graphic images did I have on German vintage cars? This time I asked how the picture desk had found out about Retrograph. She replied, UK picture sources. I asked her to photocopy the listing and send it by post, as faxes had not yet arrived in the mid-80s. I was shocked to see my important entry of 1.5 A4 page columns. Unwittingly, I had started a new business that would last 20 years until the digital age caused its demise, a sign of the times. Retrograph Archive, eventually ahead of its time, became the 4th UK nostalgia archive and a member of BAPLA, that's the British Association of Picture Libraries. It began in 1987 with the French images in Terence Conran's France, a multitude of images in Alan Swan's The Layout Sourcebook, in addition to 40 images in Marie-Pierre Lemoine Cuisine Grand-Mère, with a tragic end, but that's another another story for another vignette.
Well, that's fascinating because it really does go into before computers, the
Yeah.
internet,
Absolutely.
which is quite amazing. I mean, I'd have a lot of questions to ask you, but I think I'll ask you privately first because